but but this is not my, like, I don't know anything about film. I always look to the different organizations when it comes to art. But every morning of lockdown after Auntie Rosary died, we would call each other, actually Hawaii all the way to Guam, and we would coordinate who was going to look up the deaths for the day of healthcare workers of Philippine ancestry. And we decided early on that we would rotate and take all the news interviews because nobody was talking about the deaths in our community. And I can't believe we had to even fight to talk about the deaths, let alone those that were living and serving every day. I couldn't see my mom, I couldn't see my sister, I couldn't see my cousin because they were serving every day. And then on the other hand, we had to fight just to talk about those that served and fell. So I didn't know Michelle. She called me, and I think we were emailing back and forth. If I had known how big the film would be, I wouldn't have cut my own bangs. Like, there's like all these things in like hindsight. But we wanted to create as much information for future scholars. So since the film and since Kanlungan, there have been at least 5 white papers written and hopefully books written about nurses. Yeah, so we just said yes. But even Kanlungan was inspired by the death of Auntie Rosary. And
I got to talk to Joyanne and Gertrude is when we found out about what happened to Rosary, almost every day she would call me, Mom, what are we gonna do for Auntie Rosary? And I said, I don't know, Jolene. We have to get hold of Tiffany and the other aunties to see what we can do for her. So at that time, our hands were tied, and then she came up with this, and she came up with Kanlungan. And when I saw that, what she has started, I was amazed because she was able to get hold of healthcare workers all the way from Asia to Europe. So I said, oh my God, this is big. I don't know how she did it, but she did. So, you know, your mom will always be in our heart. And you know that.
I'm very shy, even being up here. So it started out with the day after my mom passed away. I already got bombarded by news reporters, other reporters, even the health department of LA called the next day. Can we share your mom's name out there? And at first I said no. So when they first announced it, they just said a nurse in LA. Then over 2 weeks, still getting bombarded by reporters, and I finally said yes to one because of her approach. And family and friends said, reach out. They should know your mom's story. And I don't know, I didn't want to talk to reporters either, so I only spoke to the one, which she's in the film. And then Jolene told me about Michelle and the way she brought it up, and I'm like, you know what? Okay. And when she said, "Oh, we're gonna interview," and I'm like, oh, like in front of camera. So seeing myself up there, it's hard. Now today it's a lot different because having the titas up here, Jolene, my dad, it's a lot more heartfelt. And I want to thank all of you for listening to our stories. So. Yeah, I don't like being upstairs.
At the time, when I had gotten suspended for demanding PPE from my facility, there were 10 of us nurses who that had happened to, and I was nominated by my peers and by our union representative to be the spokesperson for everything that was going on. So I had been forwarded a lot of media requests from some of the news stations. I had done some interviews for like Fox and CNN regarding whatever was happening to us. And I, honestly, this was so long ago and it was during COVID, so I have a lot of that blocked out from my mind. It's very traumatic. But I think I thought about Nurse Unseen as kind of just one of those, another opportunity to tell this story. And as time has gone on, I didn't imagine for it to be so moving and so monumental in the way that it is. And so I'm so happy that I got to be a part of it and that you reached out and that the story gets to be told in this way.
Chantal, do you want to?
Yeah, so for me, it was probably 4 months or so to the day that Mom had been home. We were in the midst or just getting home from maybe aquatic therapy or one of Mom's sessions. And I go to my Instagram and I see my message, and I see a message from Michelle, and she's introducing herself and, you know, asking like, are you able to reach out to your mom to see if she's willing to share her story? She heard from somebody. So I read, and then Mom's sitting on the couch getting settled, and I said, Mom, a director has reached out to me about doing a documentary featuring your journey, and we're doing it. And she looks at me like, what are you talking about? And she raised me, so she has only herself to blame for my, I don't take no for an answer. And to share with you guys, I had the honor of having my mom in my life as my advocate, as my partner, to be by my side. And I felt like I needed to give the gift of her to everybody to witness the advocate she was, the fighter she was, because I'm not a selfish person by nature, and my reason for wanting to share her story is also to be proud of the mother that I was blessed with. And you know, after she survived, and another reason why this month is hard is because almost 2 years ago we had to call the ambulance and she passed out at home, only to find out that the COVID and everything was causing her to go into heart failure. So Mom spent the last 2 months of her life in the hospital, and we finally got to Cedars, and they basically told me that there was nothing more they could do. So I had to fight to get Mom home. I looked at Mom and I said, Mom, if you're tired, it's okay, we could go home. And she said, I'm fighting and doing all of this for you. And I said, Mom, you've done enough, and if you want to go home. And she looked at me, she said, enough, I'm ready to go home. And they weren't going to let me take her home, but I also didn't take no for an answer. And I said, you know, get hospice ready, get her in that ambulance. And he said, well, Chantal, what if your mom doesn't make it home? I said, at least she'll go knowing that I was fighting to give her what she wanted, which was to pass away in the home that she built. And she was only home maybe, and we got home. We were home maybe 45 minutes to an hour, and shortly after midnight, she passed peacefully. So till the end, I fought and advocated for her the way that she's always done for me, and I'm very grateful that in the midst of my grief and my struggle, I'm able to speak in front of all of you guys and honor her legacy of all the people that have been impacted by COVID.
And you've got a wedding to prepare for. Ooh, so, right? I just want to get a time check. I don't know how much time we have left here, so I want to be able to give a little bit of time to. Oh, we do. Okay, so you want to get to that now, or right? Okay. We have a presentation, actually, ladies and gentlemen, in this historic moment during Filipino American History Month. So, if we could bring up Mr. June Aglipai here to render the certificate. No white suit today, June? No.
That was on the dry clean right now.